Attention passionate Seattle Seahawks fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC West and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Seattle Seahawks' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Seattle Seahawks fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Seattle SEAHAWKS fans. Let's get to the news, so here's the story that's been making waves in NFL circles and definitely has Seahawks fans buzzing. Rumors are swirling around the league's inner corridors, hinting that the Indianapolis Colts, currently sitting at a disappointing 5-8 and facing a rebuild centered around their young quarterback in 2025, are considering a blockbuster move that could reshape the NFC West landscape. The word is that the Colts are exploring the possibility of trading their star guard, Quentin Nelson, to the Seahawks. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would Indianapolis do that? Well, it all comes down to cap space and draft capital. The Colts are feeling the pressure of their struggles on offense, especially along the line, and with a rebuilding phase on the horizon, they're looking to free up about $14 million in cap space. This move would allow them to focus on extending their young defensive stars and building around their quarterback of the future, even if it means parting ways with one of the best guards in the league. Now, let's talk about Nelson himself. The dude is a beast. When you talk about dominant offensive linemen, he's right up there with the best. Over his career, he's been a staple for the Colts' offensive line, earning PFF grades above 85 in 90 games and allowing just over 200 pressures and hits. That's elite-level protection, folks. In 2025, despite dealing with a shoulder injury that limited his snaps early on, Nelson has been a rock. In 13 games, he's allowed only 2 sacks and 15 pressures, with an overall PFF grade of 88. His run blocking is stellar, sitting at 91, and he's been effective in EPA per block, plus 0.18. Not to mention, his ability to generate yards after contact for running backs has been a game-changer. For the Colts, having Nelson on the line has been a bright spot in an otherwise strugglesome season. But their current struggles are reflected in their points allowed, 26, 3 per game, and a staggering 45 sacks surrendered, which is a major concern. That vulnerability in protection has led to the idea of trading Nelson for draft picks, perhaps a second-round pick in 2026, which would be a significant move for a team in rebuild mode, but also a risk considering the value Nelson brings. Now, here's where it gets interesting for Seahawks fans. The Seahawks, currently standing at 7-6, have been battling their own offensive line issues. They're surrendering around 38 sacks and scoring about 8 points per game. Adding a player like Nelson could be a total game-changer. Imagine him anchoring the interior of the line, providing that much-needed stability and protection for Geno Smith. His presence would likely boost the offense's overall efficiency, projecting a 15% improvement in protection. That's huge, especially when you consider how much better the run game could become. Nelson's addition could reduce the number of sacks from the current 38 down to around 25 annually, bringing the Seahawks' sacks allowed much closer to the league's top-tier teams. It would also open up more running room for Kenneth Walker III, whose explosiveness has been somewhat limited by shaky blocking. With Nelson anchoring the line, Walker's yardage could skyrocket, pushing towards that 150 yards per game mark like in the best seasons of the Saints back in 2019 when they dominated on the ground. But it's not just about the run game. With Nelson protecting Geno, the Seahawks' passing attack would get a serious boost. Geno Smith would have more time to read the field, make plays, and keep defenses honest. Comparing this potential move to the Chargers' trade for Slater in 2025, which significantly boosted their pass protection and efficiency, it's clear that adding Nelson could elevate Seattle's offense to a new level. The Seahawks could become a more balanced team, capable of pounding the ball on the ground and making explosive plays through the air, giving them a real shot at contending deep into the playoffs. Looking at the bigger picture, this move could have a ripple effect across the NFC West. The 49ers, who have been dominant recently, could see their rivals' offensive lines get stronger, making it even tougher for defenses to contain the Seahawks. The odds for Seattle winning the Super Bowl have already started to shift, from plus 6,000 to a more realistic plus 2,000, reflecting increased confidence that with the right pieces, this team can make a serious playoff push. Nelson's presence in the trenches could turn the Seahawks into a true playoff bully, especially in matchups against divisional foes like the 49ers, where controlling the line of scrimmage is often the key to victory. Recently, the 49ers have been overpowered on the ground, surrendering over 140 rushing yards in their last games. Bringing in a player like Nelson could flip the script, allowing Seattle to impose their will physically and dominate the NFC West once again. And let's not forget, the Seahawks have been here before, dreaming of that Lombardi trophy. The Legion of Boom era set a standard for physicality and dominance on defense, but now, to reach that elite level again, they need to win in the trenches. Nelson could be the final piece to constructing a powerhouse offense, one that echoes those championship days: impenetrable blocking, explosive runs, and a passing game that keeps defenses on their heels. It's a bold move, no doubt, but one that could set the Seahawks up for sustained success, especially if they can lock in Nelson and keep building around their core. This potential trade is more than just a splash move, it's a statement. It signals that Seattle is serious about competing at the highest level and ready to invest in their offensive line, which has been a weak spot for too long. The franchise's front office knows that to beat the best teams in the league, they need to be dominant up front. If this move materializes, it could mark the beginning of a new era, one where the Seahawks re-establish their identity as a team that controls the game from the inside out, with a dominant offensive line leading the way. The fans are already dreaming about that, imagining a future where Geno Smith has all the time he needs, Walker rips through defenses, and the offense clicks like it did in the best days of the franchise. Of course, there are risks involved. Trading away draft picks and a proven player like Nelson isn't without its downsides. If the Seahawks pull the trigger, they'll need to ensure they're also strengthening other areas of their roster, especially on the defensive side, to balance out the team. But if they succeed, if Nelson joins Seattle and adapts quickly, the sky's the limit. A revamped offensive line that can protect the quarterback, open running lanes, and create more explosive plays could propel the Seahawks into the upper echelon of NFL contenders. And in a league where the trenches often decide the outcome, having a player like Nelson could be the difference maker that pushes Seattle over the top. So, fans, keep an eye on this story. It's not just speculation. It's a real possibility that could reshape the division and get the Seahawks back into serious Super Bowl contention. The team has shown resilience and grit all season long, and adding a player like Nelson could be the final puzzle piece. As we march toward the playoffs, every game, every move counts. This one could be the move that defines the franchise's future. Imagine the roar of the crowd as the Seahawks dominate in the trenches, setting the tone for a deep playoff run and perhaps, just maybe, making another trip to the Super Bowl. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Seattle Seahawks news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Seahawks fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential move for Quentin Nelson? Do you believe it's the right call for Seattle to go all in on strengthening their offensive line? Would you be excited to see Nelson in the Navy in action, protecting Geno and opening up the run game? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinions matter so much to us and to the Seahawks. Remember, this is a team built on passion, resilience, and the desire to bring that Lombardi trophy back home. I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Seahawks news because the best is yet to come. Let's go, Seahawks.